thank you for coming along. Today I'm going to talk about learnability, what it is, why it's important. So, but before I start, I just want to get an idea of yourselves. How many of you already have a job? Yes. How many of you don't have a job, but you know what job you want? Okay. How many of you don't have a job and you have no idea what job you want? Okay. Because that was my situation. When I went to university, I studied astrophysics. And when I finished, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I went into teaching, and then I went into training, then I went into coaching, and now I run personal development accelerator groups that help people really take off in whatever they want to do. And the reason that I do this is because a lot of people don't understand what personal development is, or learnability. So, to start with, my definition of learnability, and this is important, I don't use the dictionary definition. For me, learnability is learning and adaptability put together. Learning, adaptability, learnability. And the reason why it's important, well, you tell me, why do you think learnability is important today? Any idea? Okay, it's about resilience, yeah, it's about progress, it's about being adaptable, obviously. One of the reasons why it's important is because most people think that learning is what you do in education. Most people think that learning is about studying. And learning out there in the real world has almost got nothing to do with academic studies. Nothing. And the problem is that not many people will tell you this. Not many people tell you how to actually continue to learn, adapt, improve when you get into the corporate world. So, what I'm going to do, my challenge for today, I'm going to give you my mini course on learnability, and I want, if I can, to help you triple the amount of benefit that you get from attending today. I hope that in a month's time, you will have 3 times as much benefit. You will have learnt more, you will have achieved more, you will have acquired more than if you went ill-advisedly to go and see one of the other talks here at the moment. Right? Does that sound reasonable?
That's quite a statement.
Okay. All right. Now, I think the best way for me to demonstrate what I'm talking about is to give you an example. So the example that I think is the most relevant for people in your situation is a guy called Rodrigo. Rodrigo, he came to see me about a year ago, and when you meet Rodrigo, you think he's a rock star. He's got long blonde hair, a stylish beard, very charismatic guy, and he was looking very worried. And I said to him, Rodrigo, you're looking very worried. What's wrong? And he said, well, I'm a trainee salesman. A trainee salesman. I've been working in a small company for about 3 months, And when I started, I worked with 2 other people. So there's 3 of it. We're a team of 3 people. The other 2 guys, they're making progress. It's a difficult job, but they're making progress. But he said, I'm not making any progress, and I'm really worried that I'm going to lose my job. And I said, okay, so you're a trainee salesman. So what training are you getting? And he said, well, for the first 2 days, we had an expert come in, and she gave us 2 days of training on how to be a salesperson. She went through everything that we needed to know. And then we were given some videos to watch, some training videos, and we've been recommended a book to read. And I said, anything else? And he said, well, no, the rest is just learning through experience. And I said, that sounds like you've been attending a lot of tea ceremonies. And he said, tea ceremonies? I don't drink tea. I like coffee. And I said, no. Tea ceremonies, I'm not talking about the drink. I'm talking about a particular type of training that people commonly do. Now, tea ceremony. Let's see if you recognize any of this. So, a tea ceremony. A tea ceremony is some sort of training or learning experience where you turn up. You turn up, you present yourself to that event, right? A bit like today, you've turned up, see what's happening, right? You have an expert, somebody who has a lot of knowledge or experience in a particular subject, and that expert makes you aware of certain ideas, certain information. Okay? This can apply to a talk like this. It can apply to a training day. It can even apply to watching a video or reading a book. It's all the same thing. You open the book, there's an expert that's written the book, and they explain ideas to you. Okay? And today, if you go to any of the other talks, most likely, personally, I think, most of them are going to be tea ceremonies. You're not sure what you're going to hear, but there's going to be an expert who talks about stuff. And at the end, they might say, okay, we've spent half an hour together, what have we learned? And my opinion in this is that, to be honest, you've learned nothing. Nobody learns like this anymore. This is not how we learn. The reasons, when you turn up at one of these events, you don't have a clear idea of what it is that you want to achieve. And most likely, when you leave, you still don't have much of an idea of what it is you're supposed to do. The expert might have a lot of experience on their own stuff, but the expert has no idea about what your needs are, where you are with your personal development or your career development, and they have no idea about your strengths or your weaknesses. And the aware, I don't know if you know a guy or the name Benjamin Bloom. No, doesn't matter. That's what you get when you study cognitive psychology. Benjamin Bloom was a famous expert, psychology expert in the 1970s, 1980s. He had a hierarchy of learning. From mastery, creativity at the top, all the way down to things like basic understanding and remembering. Being aware of something doesn't even count. Being aware is not the same as learning. If you want to test this yourself, next week, set a date in your diary, and in 1 week's time, try to remember everything that was useful from all the talks and things that you did here today. And I guarantee you would not be able to remember 10% of it. Simple as that. So, from a tea ceremony, you get the idea that you're learning, but you're not. Right? One of the reasons why you're not learning is because videos, books, talks, training days, they lack 3 important ingredients. Right? And so we're now getting to the important bit. Right? 3 ingredients that are vital for real professional development. The first one is a plan. When you leave a tea ceremony, you need to have some clear idea of what you are going to do afterwards to take the ideas that you've done in the tea ceremony and actually make sure that you're going to keep them or practice them or remember them or whatever. You need to be able to say, now I've taken this idea and I will do this with it. Because if you don't, all you're going to do is go back to your normal behavior dealing with all the busy things that you've got in your life. Right? Second thing is pressure. When I mean pressure, I'm talking about your motivation to put the plan into action. For example, how many of you have ever made a New Year's resolution? Yeah? You know, you go to the gym, you're going to write a book, you're going to lose weight, you're going to give up alcohol, I don't know, whatever. And how many of you have completely failed to follow your New Year's resolution? The reason why you fail is because you don't have the pressure. Right? With the best will in the world, you can say, oh yeah, I went to JOBarcelona', I got these great ideas, I've got this idea about LinkedIn, this idea about applying for a job, this idea about going to Europe, etc., etc. And then 1 month afterwards, you've forgotten it all. Because you haven't maintained your plan. Right. And then, the third thing, which most people forget, which is just as important, is evaluation. What you need to do regularly, maybe once a week, is get into the habit of saying, right, I said I was going to do this, this, and this. How am I getting on? Because if you wanted to build a rocket, for instance, to go to the moon, as a lot of people are doing these days, you don't just build the rocket, point it more or less where you want to go. I don't know how rockets work, but you know, set it off and then just leave it to go in that general direction. You keep evaluating its progress, making adjustments, changing things, till eventually you get to where you want. And so what you need to do is you make your plan, you apply pressure, and then maybe once a week you say, right, how am I doing? Am I improving my LinkedIn page? Am I sending my applications to go to Europe? Am I improving my curriculum, whatever it is that is important for you, how are you getting on? All right? Now, this is what you have to do. So, I take this, I give it to you, you say thank you very much, and then what is going to happen? To be honest, nothing. Because giving information to people about how to do things is not the same as them doing it. So, this is what I do with my personal development accelerators. The secret here is not to do this by yourself. If you try to do this by yourself, your chance of success is about that much. What you need to do is you need to do it with at least one other person. This is the secret power to my personal accelerator groups. It's about forming a team of people who are working on their own things together, right? So, this is your challenge. This is the most important part of this presentation. This is what's going to make the difference to you, if you want it to. There are 5 steps, right? And you can take a photograph of the things after I put them all up. Right. So first one is you need to team up with at least one person. Now, how many of you are young, free, and single? Yep. Okay, so here's the good news, right? I am giving you instructions that today, while you're out there, if you see anybody that you think, oh, he seems nice, or she seems nice, or whatever you want, you know, I'm telling you to go up to them and say, look, I have been told to pick one person that preferably I don't know, to increase my personal development by a factor of 3. Would you be interested? Okay? And if they say yes, and who wouldn't, then you do your next step. Step 2. What you do with them is you, at the end of today, you go with them for a coffee or a beer, or whatever you want, and you talk about what were the most important benefits from today. What were the key points that you want to take away and use to improve your personal development or your career development? Right? And you explain it to them. You explain what you want to do or what you're going to do over the next 7 days. Right? Not months, not years. What are you going to do over the next 7 days to incorporate the stuff that you've learned from today? Now, the reason why doing this with somebody else is important is because, well, have you ever had the experience that you thought that you understood something, but when you tried to explain it to somebody else, you realized that you don't have things quite as clear? Yeah? Right. The reason that happens is because of vocalization. Vocalization is a process in the brain where you have to take your thoughts and convert them into words. It's a really good way of learning or clarifying your ideas. If you've got anybody in the family who is still studying, you can help them by getting them to explain to you what it is that they're studying, right? So, you explain to your buddy what you're going to do over the next 7 days, right? Next thing, your next job is to apply the pressure to your buddy to follow through with the plan that they told to you. You can send them WhatsApps, you can promise to take them to dinner, you can put psychological pressure on them, whatever you want, but give them the motivation to say, look, you said you were going to change your website. Did you change your website or your LinkedIn? Have you done it yet? When are you going to do it? You said you were going to do it tomorrow. Have you done it? Etc. You apply the pressure on them. And they obviously do it to you to increase the chance that it will happen. Right. Then, at the end of the 7 days, you meet up again for a coffee, for a beer, for a romantic dinner, whatever, it depends how it's going, right? And you say, right, at the beginning, your plan, you said you were going to do this, this, and this. How have you got on? Evaluate your progress and explain it to the other person. It's exactly the same thing. And see if you have followed through with what you were trying to do. And if you haven't, why not? What was stopping you? What's the problem? Right? And if necessary, make a few adjustments, because the final thing, step 5, is then to repeat this. Make another plan. Give more motivation. Evaluate yourself at the end of the next week. And if you do this for 3 more weeks, so that's 1 month, I guarantee you that the amount of progress that you will have made in whatever you choose will not be just 3 times more than if you didn't. It could be 10 times more. Because a lot of people take information and ideas, and with the best will in the world, they just forget it. Using this system, you are creating your own mini professional development accelerator. And it works. And the problem is that there's not a lot of people out there that actually tell you that this works. They're all trying to sell you their new book, sign up for an online course, whatever it is. Yeah? We are now in a world where just getting information is no longer useful. It's easy. How many of people here use ChatGPT? Yeah? ChatGPT. If you want to say, look, how can I find a career in Europe? What job opportunities are there? If you've got the paid version, the one that's connected to the internet, ChatGPT, it will give you all the information you need and more. You're inundated with information. The problem now is not getting the information. The problem now is actually applying it. To planning, to pick through all the information to find out the ones that's most relevant to you, and to follow through. That is now the most valuable skill that we have. Now, I think we'll take a quick break for questions, if there are any questions, and then I'll summarize and we'll finish. Okay? Because I think we started a little bit late. Oh, we've got plenty of time actually. It's past. Oh, I did cut a few bits out. So, any questions or comments?
Is it a better situation if instead of a body that you don't know, it's a friend you know from a long time?
Yeah. Good question. So the question is it okay to have a buddy who is your friend? Yes and no. Right. The benefits of having a buddy who is a friend is it's your friend. Okay? What's the disadvantages of buddying up with a friend? Okay. Your friend is probably going to be too friendly with you. A friend already knows you and has preconceived ideas about what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. Yeah? You could say, oh, I'm thinking of getting a job in Istanbul. And your friend said, oh, I don't want you to go to Istanbul, I want you to stay here with me. You know, there's that emotional connection. Yeah? If you're married, you get the same thing. Yeah? It's it's a problem. Don't do it with your partner. Right? Do it if you somebody who doesn't know you, they don't have any preconceived ideas, and they don't care if you go to Istanbul or Las Vegas or you stay here in Barcelona or whatever. Right? Good question. Next question or comment. I mean, have you experienced anything like this before? Do you do anything similar? You say yes.
Yeah, well, I was playing in the basketball team, so we were just a bunch of buddies just trying to shoot the same plan and put pressure on us, each other, and the coach is just the one who evaluates us.
Yeah. Curiously enough, if you are involved in sport, you're more likely to have experienced something like this. Because if you want to improve your tennis or your basketball or whatever, then it's fairly obvious that your tennis coach will say to you, oh, today we're going to work on your backhand and you need to do this, so let's practice it, and you do it, and I want you to continue doing this during the week. And you know, if you don't, then I'm gonna pam cool, whatever, yeah, and you're gonna have a big problem. Yeah, they do this in sports. They do this, but in Korea, in the professional world, most training is a type of tea ceremony. It's a type of tea ceremony. Okay. Next question or comment.
One question about the body has to have the same plan as you.
Right. Does the buddy have to have the same plan as you? No. This is one of the wonderful things about being part of a professional accelerator group, because the groups that I run are 4 people. 4 is the ideal number. We don't have time for me to go into the psychological reasons of why 4 is the optimum number, but it is. Right? Each one of those 4 people works on their own personal development needs. One person who is working on their, I don't know, personal communication skills. One person is working on their productivity. One person is working on their leadership. One person is learning how to run meetings with optimum effect. 4 very different things, but it doesn't matter. Each person decides exactly what the most relevant and important skill they need to improve, and they develop a strategy to improve it. And when they have to explain that to the other 3 people, then it's like, you get 3 different opinions back about whether your idea is okay or not. And getting those different points of view is really useful. And you get what's called cross-pollination learning as well. Do you know what cross-pollination means? Now, cross-pollination means that, for instance, if you are working on your leadership skills and you are working on your productivity, then when you explain the problems that you have and what your ideas are, you think, that's interesting because I'm experiencing something similar to that. I could apply what she says to my leadership. Great idea. And so you get this cross-pollination, that one idea from one place is useful to somebody else in a different place. And it happens a lot. A lot. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. So let's finish off then. And I'm happy to take questions individually if you're too embarrassed to ask me directly. Rodrigo, you remember Rodrigo? Right, so Rodrigo was a disaster. He was very worried about his job. He thought that he was going to be let go because he wasn't doing as well as the other 2 people. So what we did in our group is that we looked at why he wasn't being as successful as the other people. And basically, Rodrigo was a very introvert type of person. He was very shy. He was motivated, but he was shy. And this way of selling that the company was trying to get him to do, it just didn't fit with him. And so what we did is that he decided to take the training that he got so far and rip it up, throw it in the bin, and he was going to do his own, he was going to research his own type of sales techniques. And so he didn't use ChatGPT because ChatGPT wasn't invented then. That was a long time ago, like a year ago, I said, right? But he came up with this new plan. And the group motivated him, said, right, okay, every day you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to make these calls, you're going to work out a new script for his conversations that he was having with people. He decided to develop his own script that worked for him. And he started to do it. After 3 months, no, sorry, not 3 months, 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, he already started to see the change in his success rate of doing his job. He made a visible difference to his success. And after 3 months, not only had he started to improve and be more successful than the other 2 people in his group, he was promoted to the leader of those 3 people because he had done this. Because he'd made the effort to take the responsibility about his own development and push through. Now, if Rodrigo had kept with the tea ceremony training that he'd had, it's quite possible that Rodrigo would have lost his job because he just wasn't working. But because of applying the learnability, he was able to change the way, set himself objectives, follow through, and make the progress that he needed. Okay. Now, I'm trying to remember what the next slide is. I'll just see what it is. Oh yeah, it's this, right. Okay, so as a thank you for you coming along and listening to this, my proposal is very simple, and to be honest, I'm glad that it's not a full room, because if everybody did this, I would find it very, very difficult. But this is my LinkedIn page if you wanted to follow the QR code. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, send me by message the word Job Barcelona, just to prove that the connection is to do with Job Barcelona. Then, in the future, if you find yourself in a job and you are interested in experience a learnability development accelerator, then get in touch with me. I'll happily talk to your human resources or training department, and I will give you, this is why I say it's good that there's not so many people here, I'll give you a free 3-session accelerator demo so that you can experience what it's like to actually do this. Okay? Now, I pointed out at the very beginning that I am a certified astrophysicist. It is true. But the important thing here is that what I've explained, there's nothing complicated about it. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. The phases, the steps are very simple. But I promise you, I do, if you do apply this and you try it every week for 4 weeks, the changes that you can see to your personal development, your professional development, will be astronomical. Okay? So thank you very much for being here. I wish you all the best and keep learning. Okay, thank you.